What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Nothing But Reds post-match reaction show, reacting to Man City versus Liverpool in East Rutherford, New Jersey, at the home of the New York Giants and New York Jets, and probably, undebatably, the shittiest field I've ever seen a soccer game take place on. But that's neither here nor there. It's been a minute. We've had Steve and I have had some things we're going through. Steve's going through a move. I'm going through some work stuff, and we're just trying to get back on track here. But anyways, if you're listening and you're a veteran listener, thanks for coming back. Thanks for listening. If you're a new listener, feel free to leave a comment on how you found the page. If you're a Liverpool fan, if you're not, and subscribe if you want to hear some future content. But few things I want to get into about the game. It was really a tale of two halves. I mean, preseason generally is. You have all of your young guys playing, and then they're kind of mixed in with the starters. But a lot of times, coaches will split it up. They'll do young guys in the first half, and then integrate the starters into the second half. So we saw in the first half for this particular game, it was very scrappy, very, very rough. And to the referee's credit, these preseason games, they're not really looking to call the game super tight, mainly because they want to keep the games rolling. It's not so much a professional aspect in preseason, it's more of just allowing the players to get used to playing together again in a laid back environment. So this discourages injuries, this discourages unsportsmanlike conduct, and encourages just fast, free-flowing play. So you notice there wasn't a lot of fouls called, and in the first half, and there was plenty of penalty chances. I mean, I know City had a penalty shout and Liverpool had a penalty shout, not only in the first half, but in the second half as well. And we know that Van Dijk got a yellow card. But I mean, overall, the referee did a decent job, but it kind of seemed like it was just picking up and becoming really scrappy midway through that first half. But let's get into some details about the first half. Big thing I noticed since the U.S. tour started, I think Klopp has told our guys, he said, look, boys, we're going to start picking up the intensity now. I want you guys to play hard all game for the time you're in. I want you to press. I want you to attack quick. And I want you guys to try to score goals. Where if we're looking at the games against Tranmere, Blackburn, Chester, we were scoring goals, obviously, but it was more so to kind of just, because obviously we didn't really have a lot of our starters back yet from the World Cup, at least those that were in the World Cup. So we saw a lot of young guys get some chances. Different style of play. We didn't really see too much of the play we've become used to after this past season. Obviously, the young guys don't play with the intensity and the pace that the starters now do. So those 4 games prior to the tour, 3 or 4, were a lot different. We've seen against Dortmund, we picked up the pace and the pressure, and then we've also picked up the pressure today. So going off of that, I need to talk about my man Curtis motherfucker Jones, all right? And this man looks very, very composed on the ball. He's quick. He has a good first touch. He's good with both feet, inside and outside of both feet as well. And he's a good addition, I think. And he also, based on just watching him, you can obviously tell that he's a step above some of the other players, meaning the young guys. And when I say that, I'm referring to, and this is not to knock on anyone, but when I say this, I'm referring to players such as, you look at a Ben Woodburn, a Shea Ojo, a Camacho, players like that, players that you don't really see too often, but when they do play, you can tell they're young. But with Curtis Jones, I'm kind of finding myself, and I think Klopp sees this as well, which is why he's starting pretty much every game. He sees a guy that's composed composed and knows how to handle himself at this level. Remember, the kid's only 17. I don't know what's going on with his hair. We'll have to talk about that in another episode. But for the most part, I'm pretty impressed with him. He's had some good touches. He's linking up really well with Robertson as far as Robertson distributing the ball. He's making good runs. We haven't really got a chance to see him at his best because he hasn't been in with the likes of Mane, Firmino, Salah, etc. He played with Lallana, but Lallana looks a little iffy as well. But he had that one chance, the cross from, I believe it was, I want to say Klein or maybe Lallana from that right-hand side. Crossed it in, went over Sturridge's head, and all he had to do was head that ball right into the ground, just anywhere down, and it would have been a goal. But, he got a little bit under it and skied it over the crossbar. Not a bad showing. I thought he should have converted that chance. But overall, Curtis is really impressing me. Let me know what you guys think about Curtis as well. I think he is the standout performer so far this preseason. Additionally, I want to talk about Fabinho and Van Dijk. Now, Van Dijk, we're so used to seeing Van Dijk as just this powerhouse defender. Can't do any wrong. The guy is literally, in my opinion, the difference in the Liverpool side. If you take our defense prior to Van Dijk coming in and compare it to our defense with Van Dijk, it's night and day. The guy runs that defense. He commands the field. He has excellent IQ on the defensive end as far as reading the play, reading players' runs, not to mention the balls in the air. He wins virtually every ball in the air. However, tonight I noticed a little, I don't know if maybe I was just hyper-focused on him and some of the things that he did were magnified. But if you look at some of the plays, like the play where he gave up the ball in the first half and he got the yellow card because he fouled him. Obviously that's the smart play. You give up the ball, you don't want to give up a goal, you foul the guy. Obviously, right? But you just don't really see that from Van Dijk. I can only remember that one instance against, I think it was Man City or maybe it was Roma, where he was dribbling to the near side of the field at Anfield, had a bad pass, gave it up, and then I think we may have given up a goal. But really, that is the only time I can remember Van Dijk making any sort of mistake. So he had that mistake. He also couldn't keep up with Sané on that beautiful goal that Sané scored. That was just beautiful. Everything from the perfectly weighted pass to the speed of Sané. Sané and the finish. That guy is incredible. I really do like Leroy Sané. And I'm kind of disappointed now seeing him that Liverpool never signed him, because pretty much all the top Premier League teams were linked with him at one point or another back when he played for Schalke. But I think we didn't go for him because of his age. He was young, but I guess we're kind of regretting that now. But to be honest, actually, no, I completely take that back. We're not regretting it. I just wish that we would have given him a little better look. Just based on how he's played. The kid's phenomenal. So yeah, Van Dijk had those two instances where it was a little shaky, but obviously I'm not worried. It's preseason. Van Dijk's the man. Additionally, Fabinho. From all the podcasts that I listen to, there's been pretty much a unanimous consensus that Fabinho's doing fine, which he is. He's playing fine soccer. He's really not giving up too many chances. Two things that I've noticed about Fabinho, though, and I mentioned this in previous podcasts, but one is his long passing. His short passing's fine. His long passing, he's either overshooting it or he's passing it behind players. There was the one instance where he went to switch the play across the far side of the field and he overkicked it, went out of bounds. I can't remember who he overkicked. It may have been Klein or Gomez or maybe Lallana. But that, and then also when it comes to tackling, he hasn't quite mastered Klopp's way of pressing the ball and annoying the player on the ball without fouling. We saw a few instances tonight where a player would take him on and he would miss a tackle and then he would just throw a foot, at the player and miss the ball and then foul him, which, I mean, it's pretty consistent throughout, but it's not like he's doing anything wrong. These are just little things I'm picking out and noticing about Fabinho. Overall, though, I think he's looking good so far. I mean, he's doing exactly what a defensive mid should do, just holding that line down and then working well with the two center backs in the back. That's really all I can think about Fabinho for now. Additionally, let's get into Solanke, because I got to mention, one of the podcasts I was listening to, I'm not going to name it, but said Solanke has been trashed this preseason. And I completely beg to differ, okay? Stay with me, people. Stay with me for this. You look at a player like Firmino. Yes, he can score goals with the best of them. But his style of play isn't like a Lukaku or a Olivier Giroud or a Morata. He's not, or a Sturridge even. Well, you know what I'm saying. He's not strictly a goal scorer. He's a playmaker. He's a distributor. He's a hustler. All these things make him the great false nine that he is. Firmino, I'm talking about. Now, let's look at Solanke. People are talking about him in a negative manner because he has not scored many goals. I think maybe aside from that goal he scored on the last regular season game against, I think it was Brighton, I want to say, I don't think he's really scored more than 2 or 3 goals since Klopp signed him. But if you look at every other aspect of his game, his short passing, his little through ball feeds to whoever's making a run in behind the defense, he can pass with the outside of the foot. His agility and his dribbling in tight spaces is excellent. He is not just a goal scorer. That in fact, even though I think he won something like most valuable player for the England World Cup. I think it was under 20s or under 21s or however they do that. He needs to perfect the goal scoring part of his game at the Premier League level. Everything else is there. His distribution is great. I've seen him make cross-field passes multiple times with the outside of his boot for accuracy. I've seen him make little through passes to Mane. I mean, we saw him tonight when he tried to round the keeper. Mane tried to round Joe Hart. Took a little bit too much of a heavy touch, and then he hit the side netting, right? But that little toe poke through, perfect, beautiful. You also look at him, he's able to win the ball in the air because he's so tall. I want to say he's like 6 or 6'1", maybe even 6'2", but he's great in the air. He's also great at bringing the ball down from the air to his feet, making a quick turn and getting the ball moving up the field, which is very important to Klopp's system. And that's another thing that we see in Firmino. Firmino is able to bring the ball down, turn quickly, find Salah or Mane. And that's what I think people are overlooking, because they just see a striker and they see, oh, is this guy scoring goals? No. So he's not good. False. It's a system. And I think Solanke fits this system because he's willing to press. He's willing to distribute and not just hog the ball. I'm very excited to see what Solanke can bring this season to the side, because I think Klopp made the right decision with him. And also another thing I want to bring up. Did you guys see that picture of Mbappe when he had the trials at Chelsea? And it was a little caption that said, Chelsea had the option to choose between Dominic Solanke or Kylian Mbappe and went with Solanke because they thought he had more upside, right? And I just thought that was interesting because, yeah, obviously Mbappe is coming into his own a little bit quicker than Solanke, but watching Mbappe play, he's just attack, attack, attack. He's quick, and he has a hell of a shot on him. And he's good at every other aspect of the game, but he's known for his scoring. Whereas you look at Solanke, and I think Solanke fits more of the Firmino profile, that profile of distribution, controlling the ball, and not so much scoring. But this is just kind of my early preseason analysis, because really this is the only time we've seen him for extensive periods. He's mostly come on as a substitute, or maybe he started like a League Cup game or something like that. So it's just something to think about. Let me know what you guys think in the comments too, if you're listening and you want to put in your 2 cents about Solanke. Let me know. And then also there was a Marco Grujic sighting, which I've always liked Grujic. I mean, I've watched all his highlights from, Red Star, wherever he was in Serbia or Turkey or wherever he played before he came to Liverpool. I've watched those highlights. I've watched his Cardiff City highlights, and you saw today. I mean, he was only out there for a little bit, but he presses. He stays on his feet. His balance is great. His strength is second to none. He's good in the air. And he's just a hard worker. I really think, and he can distribute the ball left, right, center. He's a hard worker. I mean, I like seeing him. I like seeing Grujic get out there. Another guy that I've been very impressed with, and you guys can, I think everyone can agree with me on this, Nathaniel Phillips, the center back, the young center back. Now, if you've been watching Phillips, and this will kind of be the last, because I took some notes, and these are kind of the talking points that I wanted to mention. But if you've been watching Phillips, Nathaniel Phillips is a composed center back. And I've noticed this with Gomez as well. Joe Gomez, that is. They're young, but they remind me of Van Dijk, because Van Dijk's very calm and composed and collected on the ball, and he doesn't freak out if he doesn't immediately see someone open. He dribbles the ball forward, or he dribbles out of traffic to get some space and then make a smart pass or a smart switch or whatever the case may be. Phillips, I've seen both in this game and then the last game, maybe not against Dortmund. I think it may have been against Tranmere, or maybe it was against Dortmund. I'm not sure. But he's calm on the ball. I remember he gave up that, he had a bad pass into the feet of Sane, and Sane had a heavy touch, but Phillips backtracked and made a stop instead of giving up the breakaway. I mean, little things like that, little things that you notice, that I've noticed about him, is that he's a very promising center back. I think for his age, he's very collected. He's been captaining the under-23 sides from what I've heard. So he's obviously got the leadership abilities. And I think Klopp sees something in him. And if it's what I see, I'm pretty excited to see some of these young center backs come in. Joe Gomez, I think Klopp is finally making the transition and putting him into center back. Mainly because Klein's back, because when Klein's out, you got Trent, and then obviously your second string is going to be Gomez. But I like Joe Gomez. I think Brendan Rodgers did an excellent job scouting him and bringing him in from Charlton Athletic, or Carlton Athletic, however it's pronounced. But that's neither here nor there. In sum, I think Liverpool really needed this win, because coming off of that Dortmund loss, which Christian Pulisic had an amazing game, there's no doubt in that. But I think we really needed this win. And correct me if I'm wrong, y'all, but it really feels like Man City and Liverpool are developing a little bit of a rivalry. Yeah? No? Maybe? Okay. Well, y'all let me know. I really think they're starting to develop a rivalry, and this kind of goes back to the rough, scrappy play we saw at the beginning of the game. Overall, though, like I said, we needed that win, and it was good that we got it, because going into Man United on Saturday, which is going to be an epic game, which I will be at, by the way, traveling there, and I cannot wait to do a post-match podcast for that. I mean, I'm going to record some stuff. I may even do a vlog there. I haven't really decided yet, but I'm just super excited to see my boys play live. I absolutely cannot wait. And another thing before I go, can we talk about the immediate impact that Mane and Salah had? I mean, God, Mane was great, but I mean, as soon as Salah came on, the guy had literally 3 touches and then scored a goal. It was absolutely incredible. I mean, people saying that he's going to be a one-season wonder. No. I mean, the consistency and the intensity and the composure at which he plays, his IQ is through the roof. I mean, the way he reads the play and the way he can guess where a ball's going to be or where a defender is going to back pass to the keeper and he can press. I mean, he's an incredible, incredible forward. And I'm excited to see where he goes this season, if he can top what he did last season. But anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in to this week's post-match reaction. Be on the lookout for the Man United versus Liverpool post-match reaction. I'm going up to Michigan, Ann Arbor to see that one at the Michigan Stadium. So it should be a good time. Other than that, thank you guys for joining in. Leave a comment down below if you're listening and you have any opinions or observations of the game. And then also, if you like what you hear, subscribe and like the video. Let me know what you think, all right? Thanks, guys.